What is up, everybody? Welcome to the video. I am very excited for this one. Ever since I bought my CRF300L, I've been dying to get my handlebar setup dialed in, and in today's video, we're gonna be doing just that. So first things first, I gotta give a huge shout out to Rocky Mountain ATV MC for sending everything out. Super great company. They've been a pleasure to work with, and every part that we're gonna be installing is from Tusk. Now, I've used a lot of their products in the past, even before working with Rocky Mountain, and they've always been really good quality, and it offers the perfect balance between price and performance. So the factory handlebars are just very underwhelming, especially for a taller person. They are just way too low. The back sweep makes it feel like a scooter, and as with most factory 7/8 bars, they just feel kind of cheap and flimsy. Now let's go ahead and walk through the parts that we're going to be installing. We went with the Tusk Chubb CR High Bend. I love the way that these bars look. I love the Chubb name. I think it's funny. I think it's fitting. It has a really aggressive upsweep, which is going to bring your handlebars closer to you when you're standing up, and it's really just going to give a nice attack position. It's going to feel way better off-road. So moving on, we have the Tusk wraparound handguards. Any bike that you're going to be taking off-road, I highly recommend having handguards. It's only a matter of time before you lay it down, and you want to protect those levers, protect your hands. A while back, I was doing a hill climb on the 250L. I think I got a little squirrely at the top, and I ended up bouncing my hand off of a tree. I may or may not have broke a couple fingers, but if I would have had handguards, that never would have happened, and I wouldn't even have had a scratch. I also think they give the bike just a way more aggressive, badass look. So handguards for me, I went with the Tusk MX Shield, and they have the slots for the turn signals. So we're gonna be relocating our turn signals. It'll really clean up the front end of the bike, but you should definitely run a set of shields. I see a lot of supermoto guys run them without. I guess that's fine if you're on the street, but I don't know. I think it just kind of looks corny, unfinished. So just get some freaking shields. I also got a 12-volt accessory plug from Tusk, which we're not going to be installing in today's video because I'm waiting on a harness that allows you to adapt to the factory Honda plug, so I'll have to do an update in a future video. We do have the Tusk mounts for the handguards, but I'm actually going to be using a pair of Zeta mounts that I've had for a long time. They actually bolt directly onto the triple clamp, and it just gives it a much cleaner and more robust feel and look. I just had some one-finger grips lying around. Shout out to my boy Clay, he hooked me up with those. But everything will be linked down below as always, so be sure to check it out. That is all the parts. There's not much to the install. Just takes a little bit of time to unbolt and bolt things on. Let's get right into it. Pro tip, to keep track of your hardware, go ahead and thread the bolts back into their home. That way you don't end up with a pile of bolts, screws, and a bunch of hardware that you have no idea where it belongs. Now, instead of loosening up the throttle cable down at the throttle body, I kind of just like to wedge the throttle tube out of the housing. Just be careful not to break any of the plastic components. Now, I was able to get my factory grip off of there without cutting it. They were still brand new, so maybe I'll use them on something else in the future. I doubt it because they're not the best, but I do like to hoard all of my factory parts that I take off. Now, you will have to cut off the end of the throttle tube in order for the handguards to work. There's a few different ways that you can cut it, obviously, just use what you have. I started out using the Dremel and ended up with the bandsaw, which was not a good idea. The bandsaw blade caught on the throttle tube and just completely destroyed it. So if you have a Dremel, just stick with that. So now it's time to throw on our fat bar mounts and get these Tusk Chubbies on the bike. Go ahead and hook up your throttle tube to the cables and slide it over the bar, and do that before you mount the handlebar so you don't have to take anything apart. I'm just gonna loosely tighten down the clamps for now until I figure out where I want everything. But now that that's done, we're gonna throw the levers on there. I put the mirrors back on, but we end up taking them off. I plan on running some double take mirrors or something like that just to clean it up a bit. It's time to put some grips on. I like to use clear spray paint. I've found that works the best. While it's wet, it acts as a lubricant, so it's easy to slide over. And once it dries, it's not gonna move anywhere. It's also really clean compared to a grip glue. It doesn't leave a lot of residue, so that's just my personal favorite. You can also use hairspray too. And now it is time to put the hand guards on. If you're gonna use the triple clamp mounts, this can be a little tricky. Don't tighten anything down until you have every bolt started. These parts are all universal, so some things fit better than others, and you kinda gotta maneuver things where they need to be. We're also going to be threading our bar ends in the future. That way we don't have to have these obnoxiously annoying expanding bolts. So I'll have a full video dedicated to that in the future. And now it's time to put the shields on. You're gonna need to drill one hole on each side for the screw to go through. Just 2 screws attach the shields to the guards. We're gonna go ahead and wire up our turn signals. So we gotta get the headlight pulled off, gain access to the harness. The blue and orange connectors are what you're after, and just make sure you don't get the sides confused. Let's go ahead and get these hideous factory turn signals off of here. I'm actually going to be reusing the connectors on the factory turn signals, so we're going to go ahead and snip those off. There are 3 wires in each harness, don't let that confuse you. The blue and white and the orange and white are actually for the running light, which you won't be able to have with this setup. You could find a way to wire it up, but I'm probably not going to. Not a huge deal for me. You can use whatever method you want to splice into this harness, but personally, solder, heat shrink is the only way to go. I actually ended up heat shrinking both of them together, which when I tried to test it out, it popped the fuse. Brain fart moment for sure, so just don't make that mistake. The fuse box is underneath the seat, very easy to get to, and it does have a spare 10 amp fuse. So after I got the wiring fixed, I went ahead and tidied everything up and threw the headlight back on. Leave a comment if you noticed. I doubt that you did, but I actually have the CRF300L forks and wheels on here. If you didn't already see that video, I wanted to put the Warp 9 wheels from the 250L onto the 300L. The front axle design is different, so I ended up just swapping the forks over so I could run it, but we're gonna go ahead and swap everything back. That way I can run the dual sport tires that I have on the factory 300L wheels, which are also black and look absolutely amazing with this new setup. just like that, the install is complete. I think it looks fantastic. It really looks way more like a dirt bike than a dual sport now. The black bars with the black wheels, it really just ties everything together, the hand guards. But looks are one thing. How does it actually perform? Let's hop on the bike and find out. Woo! Man, I am so excited to try out this new setup. I literally haven't even taken it for a ride yet, so sorry if the B-roll was a little lacking, but I really wanted to finish up and go for a ride. So let's get this thing off the stand and test out this new handlebar setup. I can tell right away that I'm gonna love this. Pro tip, don't forget to pump your brakes. Oh my God, it is so much better standing up. Yeah, that's a night and day difference. The handlebars are in a nice position for me. I'm a pretty tall guy, and this makes it way more comfortable to stand up. I don't know if you can see the little hash marks here, but I do have them pushed forward just a little bit. I've kind of found over the years that if you push them too far up, it just feels weird. It messes with the ergonomics, but I'm liking where it is right now. I believe this is the tallest bend that you can get in these Tusk Chub bars, which is the CR high essentially. But this really transformed the bike. The stock bars are junk. The bend is terrible. They're way too swept back and way too low. Now, one thing that Tusk did not offer, which I wanted to put on this bike, were these Zeta hard mounts. They mount directly into the triple tree, and it really helps with my OCD because everything lines up perfect. There's no difference side to side. It just keeps the cockpit super clean. You have all this extra room to add accessories to your bars. I'm definitely getting a GPS system in the future. I haven't decided yet. I saw some of your guys' comments. I appreciate the feedback. I really wasn't that impressed with any of the Garmin models. I'm torn between the Trailtech Voyager Pro and just buying a cheaper phone and having that mounted here. Reason why I don't want to use my phone on the handlebars is the excess vibration can actually break the image stabilizer in the camera. I've seen it happen to a lot of people. Doesn't matter what phone, iPhone, Android. So I don't really want to do that for my main phone, especially when I use it for filming sometimes. So I think I might just get an additional phone and have that mounted up here. Only thing that sucks about that is having to pay for an additional line. But back to the subject, you just have a lot more space with doing those Zeta mounts in the front than you would if you had them mounted directly to the bar. So I'm a fan of that. The width is perfect, the rise is perfect. Some people might not like the bars being this high, especially if you're a shorter guy, but if you're 6 foot plus, this is really the perfect setup. I think we'll take around the street real quick and see how it feels in true dual sport form. One thing I am going to get ASAP is a set of lock-ons. Once you go lock-on grips, you just never want to go back, and I'm not a huge fan of these one-finger grips. Especially on the throttle side. The throttle tube has all these ribs and grip points on them, and it kind of bulges through because they're so thin. Thin rubber might be good for some things, but not so much on the grips. I just really can't get over how good this setup looks. It really cleaned everything up. Obviously it looks a lot better without the mirrors on there, but I do plan on getting some type of double take style mirror. Maybe even just rock one small mirror on the side. I'm not sure yet. I do like having mirrors for dual sport riding. Also, I really need to clean up this tail now, so I think we're gonna get an integrated tail light and get rid of these floppy signals that break. And after I do that, this thing is gonna be looking good. I love the look of these hand guards too. Once again, I just gotta give a huge shout out to Rocky Mountain for sending all this stuff out. All of the Tusk products that I've used so far have been absolutely amazing. And even before I started working with Rocky Mountain, I've used the Tusk stuff in the past and I've always loved it. It's the perfect balance between budget and quality. Super affordable stuff. I absolutely love the way that this turned out. But I think I'm gonna go put some more miles on this thing. It has been a while. I was running the 250L forks so I could use the Warp 9s from the 250L because the front axle is different. And those forks need rebuilt, so I definitely tell a difference. These have a lot more spring in them. I love the black wheels too. My only gripe is when you spoon them, they get destroyed. But at the end of the day, it is a dirt bike, but I can't help but trying to keep this thing nice. I'm also going to be doing something about this annoying brake line very soon. I think I'm going to go with the steel braided line, add some nice color, and get rid of this annoying, terribly routed brake line. But now that we got this thing back up and going in dual sport mode with the 50/50 tires. We're definitely going to be doing some more dual sport videos soon. I'll probably take this thing into Columbus and do some urban exploring, something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I just didn't want to burn up those kind of Trackmasters that I had on here. I will also be doing an install and review video on the Tusk D-Sport tires. That'll be coming very soon. I'm excited to try those out, see how they stack up against other dual sport tires that I've had in the past. But I think we're going to head back to the shop and finish out this video. Well, needless to say, I'm in love with the new setup. It really transformed the way the bike rides. We're gonna get out to the trails ASAP and do some more serious riding and really break them in. But just being able to stand up comfortably and not tower over the front end of the bike, it's really a game changer, and I can't wait to ride more with this setup. Like I said, we'll get the 12-volt plug on there soon, a mount for the GPS, and other than that, the cockpit is pretty much complete. But everything will be linked down in the description below. Just based on what I've felt so far, I highly recommend this setup, not only for the 300L, but this is going to be a fantastic setup for most factory bikes out there, especially the dual sports that come with those cheap, flimsy handlebars. But let me know your thoughts on this setup. Are you a fan? Do you love it? Do you hate it? If you think I should add anything or I missed anything, let me know. That is going to do it for today's video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate the support. Subscribe if you're new, drop a like. It really helps out the channel. Let me know which mod you want to see me do next, and until the next video, we'll see you then.